Hey everybody, I'm Christopher Green. You're watching Alternative Media Television Live. It is July 3rd, 2013, and I gotta give a round of applause to the absolute and utter failure that is Egypt. That is the installed government by President Barack Obama and the United States and former Secretary of State Hillary. I much prefer call her Billary Clinton 2016. So a round of applause. Morsi willing to die. That's what he said in a speech just some 24 hours ago. Said he's willing to martyr himself for the cause. You know, it's really interesting how the United States of America helps to institute these revolutions like they did during the Arab Spring all across the Middle East and sell it to the American people and the public at large, even the Egyptians, that quite frankly are a lot smarter than Americans, that really don't buy into the bullshit and the PR propaganda that's spit to us on a daily basis. It's amazing how they sell us on the idea that it's America's intention and President Barack Obama's goal to liberate the rest of the world when the people really don't want who they're installing. The people never supported Mohamed Morsi in the very beginning. It was only supported by the president here in the United States and by President Barack Obama himself. So absolutely incredible. I'll be digging into this story today. The question that you need to ask yourself now is who and what is replacing Morsi? And more importantly, did anything change? Has anything changed since the massive Tahrir Square protests that we experienced not too long ago, only to have another revolution by the people, a lot of youth within the youth movement helping to overthrow Morsi because they just don't want him in power. Again, this is like 1776 on steroids, but in Egypt. So if the United States truly supports Independence Day, truly supports a free, a liberated Middle East, and a liberated Egypt, they would help and should be helping to arm the insurgency right now, who Morsi says are terrorists. Now, of course, Morsi, really just a figurehead put into power because he's friends with the United States and our allies, helps us to destabilize the region and control a very, very, very valuable asset overseas. Black gold, oil, the blood money. In fact, I could just cut my wrists open right now on camera and you could see the blood gushing out my veins. You know, President Barack Obama and these people really get excited around this stuff. Oil prices, by the way, spiking a little bit. Great for the traders, great for Wall Street. Hey, maybe Wall Street engineered this. Maybe this is a way that they can just pad their pockets a little bit. Bring down the new dictator, Morsi. Remember, Morsi replaced Mubarak, or Mubarak. Multiple pronunciations on that guy. He was supposedly an autocratic leader, according to the Obama puppet masters, but then is replaced by Morsi, who the people say is an autocratic leader. I actually posted a video on this earlier. Let me go ahead and show this to you. This is our home page. Let me start the screen share, amtvmedia.com. Make sure to check out all of our live updates consistently throughout the day. This is how we're updating the feed. In addition to YouTube, with our video content, you see I put out a breaking video early this AM, breaking Mohamed Morsi violent overthrow in Egypt, July 3rd, 2013. Also put a really sexy video out yesterday on President Barack Obama. You know how much I love the president, that I love this lying SOB. You know, the guy that comes on camera in 2007 and says things like, I'm not going to continue the Bush-era type policies of surveillance and wiretapping, and then just goes and does just that. Does the same thing that he says he won't do to get himself elected, which all scumbag politicians do. Quite frankly, lie directly to your faces. Once they get what they want, you know, it's kind of like paying a hooker. You know, Obama, he pays his hooker, gets the sex that he needs, because obviously Michelle O ain't putting out. And then when he's done with her, he just kind of pushes her to the side. Calls up the whore in a few days when he's, getting a little bit of an itchy trigger finger. So pretty incredible. I want to show you some pictures you won't see in the mainstream media at all. And this is coming from the Egyptian people. And, you know, someone like myself and many of you watching, obviously, preaching to the choir that support liberty, that support true independence, that tomorrow, July 4th, will be, you know, taking time to remember how great this country once was, should care, as I do, about the Egyptian people and their right, their natural human right, in my opinion, God-given right, to live in a free society and to have that freedom and liberty, I think, is the ideal, and it is why we struggle so much for it and on a continuous basis here in the United States of America, and it really has just emptied the grasp of our hands. It has slipped away, you know, passing through time like sand running through my fingertips. It really is sad. So please share all of this content. Please share all of these videos with your friends and family. I really appreciate it. But let me show you some striking pictures of what's really going on, because pictures, you know, there's an old saying that a picture, you know, can say 1,000 words, or what is it, 10,000 words, or 1,000,000 words, or etc. And it's really true. Look at some of these pictures, and let me go to the screen share here. Here we have 15 photos from the Tahrir Square protests that you'll never see in legacy media. And I want to give some kudos to directorblue.blogspot.com for hosting these images. Here you've got an image that says, "Wake up, America," this white banner here. Obama backs up a fascist regime in Egypt. Wake up, America. Obama backs up a fascist regime in Egypt. So that's what the Egyptian people think of Morsi, Mohammed Morsi, and is why they have overthrown him. And we have breaking reports that say that that is the case. You know, literally as I speak, deliver this message to you at 1:03 Pacific Standard Time, depending on where you are and where you're tuning in around the world, this July 3rd, 2013, one day before Independence Day. Here we've got another image. Obama supports terrorism in English. You see Obama support dictator Morsi, a big target on President Barack Obama's face. There's another protest sign here, says, "We know what you did last summer." See how the Egyptian people, and to a certain degree the people of the Middle East, are just a whole lot, heck of a lot smarter than people here in the United States are. I mean, they know that the Arab Spring protest was a sham, was an orchestrated, engineered event by the United States of America to overthrow leadership and place in pawns so President Barack Obama could bitch slap these people like Morsi. And it's interesting, Obama and the White House are actually stepping away from what's going on right now because it's obviously extremely bad PR. I mean, how long has it been? I'm actually not even sure, but it has not been very long. It's been that quick, a snap of my two fingers, since the installation, the United States propelled installation of Mohammed Morsi, and now an overthrow. Now, Mohammed Morsi is saying, and he gave a speech saying, "Hey, I'm willing to die." People at the UN and the international community said, "Oh, this guy's lost his mind. Now he's inciting bloodshed." The question is, who and what is replacing Mohammed Morsi? Is it a remnant of the Mubarak regime? Are we replacing it with the same? Or is this truly a people-led revolution? And I'm not quite sure that that is clearly defined or even known yet at this given stage in the ball game. You know, it is extremely rare. That's what makes the United States so extremely rare. It is unbelievably rare. There's really only one country on the planet that's done it, and it's been the United States that's actually truly liberated itself, in my opinion, declared independence, and instituted and organized a revolution against Great Britain led by the people, and truly led by the people. That is extremely rare. 99.9% of the time, these orchestrated revolutions are backed and led by big money assets. Whether or not this is coming from major corporations with ties in to the political scene, or this is coming from Wall Street or some big, deep-pocketed, money backer somewhere else. So my fundamental question here, and a question you should all be asking, is who is replacing the Mohammed Morsi regime? Remnants of Mubarak's clan, which was supposedly an autocratic government? So think about it from that perspective. If that's the case, and we simply just traded Morsi, ousted Mubarak. That's what Obama did. Ousted Mubarak, trades with Morsi to be replaced by Mubarak's clan again, then that is a complete and utter failure on every level. Another F card for President Barack Obama on his long list and laundry list of Fs, not to mention scandals. So what a waste. And honestly, this also falls quite literally on the head, the big, fat, egotistical, satanic head that is Hillary Clinton. It falls on her head because she was very much a part of orchestrating this liberalization of the Middle East. You know, let's bring freedom and justice to the Egyptian people, even though the Egyptian people are way too smart, a lot smarter than Americans in a certain regard, and understand the angle that the United States has been kind of, driving its big fat nose into over the past several decades, arguably hundreds, if not thousands of years. So pretty incredible. This is all over alternative news. This is all over mainstream news. Tanks, military tanks. This is a military-led revolution, coup. Tanks moving on Cairo. There's some live footage of this. I had to laugh earlier. I also read too. This is another common protester slogan. Says your bitch is our dictator. Yeah, that's right, Obama. Your bitch is our dictator. I thought that was pretty funny. It shows you how awake the Egyptian people are. I mean, think about this for a minute. If the American people were maybe 10% as awake as Egypt, we would have already had a second revolution here in the United States of America. I mean, I always have to give the street cred to these people overseas and the Egyptian people themselves, because they got balls. I mean, they're actually willing to do something. They're actually willing to die for the cause, go out there into the streets, throw rocks, etc., and actually try to change things for the better because things are so friggin' bad for them. And that's part of the illusion that we live here in the United States with the liquefaction of our financial markets, 0% interest rates. Ben Bernanke's scam that is quantitative easing puts up kind of a gigantic dust storm, big dust storm haboob. We get these in Arizona, a big cloud that disallows the American people from really seeing how bad things are here in the United States. I'm constantly asked the question, Christopher, when does this end? When does this all collapse? When do the financial markets come crashing down? I mean, how leveraged can we be before it comes to an end? And the answer to that question is nobody knows, including myself. All we know inherently, factually, this is just the facts, the data, that it's an unsustainable course of action. It is an unsustainable model that will crumble, much like Mohamed Morsi's institutionalized government, courtesy of the United States, has crumbled to the ground. Again, I mentioned oil is above $100 today, so the traders on Wall Street are going to love this shit. This is from World News. Egyptian military says it has ousted officially Mohamed Morsi. Crowds celebrating in Cairo. Let me show you some of these pictures. These are pretty amazing here. Richard Engel contributed to this story. Says the Egyptian military said Wednesday that it had ousted President Mohamed Morsi and suspended the country's constitution. Armored cars, tanks, and troops deployed in the capital in what advisors to the president described as a coup. Now, this is something interesting to think about because there will be some point in the not-too-distant future here in the United States where the Constitution is suspended here. Of course, we saw this with the tragedy that was Louisiana and, the water overflowing the levees, etc. Martial law was declared. Guns were confiscated from the people of America. So again, we've seen it. We saw this in Boston with the complete militarization, looking for a militarization of an entire American city, looking for a single individual who happened to be unarmed. You see how these stories were so big and were so even mainstream at the time, and now have just been buried underneath a brush fire of Obama scandals. Tripping over my own words today. Buried and really just kind of swept under the rug. In a scene reminiscent of the earliest days of the Arab Spring, tens of thousands of Egyptians who had demanded the president's ouster staged a very excited celebration in Tahrir Square, dancing, cheering, and setting off fireworks. Earlier in the day, the president and the military each swore to fight to the death for control of the country, and a military deadline for Morsi to step aside came and went with no statement from the president. This is a direct quote. Let me read this to you. Quote, "We swear to God to sacrifice with our blood for Egypt and its people against any terrorist, extremist, or ignoramus." I think there's two pronunciations on that. The military said in a statement, "Long live Egypt and its proud people." Long live Egypt and its proud people. The army took control of the state television. Also very interesting to think that the state doesn't control the media here in the United States would make you a bumbling, idiotic fool. Many Americans actually still shamefully believe that the mainstream media is actually independent, which it clearly is not. It's why organizations, grassroots organizations like ours, AMTV, have literally destabilized the entire mainstream media system over the years. Because you couldn't get a real opinion. Whether or not you agreed or disagreed, state-controlled media only has one type of media that it's filtrating out to the people. And so I find it very interesting that Egypt, it says here it's now being controlled by the military. Well, it's the same thing here in the United States, controlled by massive corporate interests. I mean, the entire media itself, really, there's really about five different distinct individuals that have concentrated total media and political power in this country, in the United States of America. Civilian, political, religious, and youth leaders were summoned to meet with the top generals and planned a statement later in the day. The former head of the UN Nuclear Weapons Agency and a critic of Morsi attended the meeting, as did a leading Muslim cleric and the head of Egypt's Coptic Christians. At least 16 people were killed, more than 200 injured in clashes primarily around Cairo University. One of the advisors to Morsi, his name happens to be Jihad Haddad. Jihad reminds me of the Team America, F yeah. That movie was pretty timely right after the September 11th, 2001 terrorist attacks. One of the advisors to Morsi, Jihad Haddad, told NBC News that he could not confirm or deny whether Morsi had moved from Republican Guard headquarters, where he was believed to have been staying earlier in the day. So here's a question that I have. Will Mohamed Morsi survive this? Obviously, he's not surviving this politically. Will he survive this physically? You know, the old saying, off with his head? Off with his head? So, you know, his life very much at risk. I would think that the Egyptian people want justice. And if they believe Mohamed Morsi to be an autocratic dictator, much like Mubarak, maybe Mubarak got off a little easier, Mr. Mohamed Morsi might in fact find himself killed if that is the demand of the Egyptian people. Whether or not that is the case or not will have to be decided by the people. And isn't that interesting? In a society where the state decides whether or not you live or die here in the United States with capital punishment, of course, if you're convicted of murder by a jury of your peers, let's take a look at the George Zimmerman case, for example. Once you get the death penalty, you end up dying an old man from old age before they actually get around to actually putting you out of your misery. It's kind of one of those things where you want to ask the question, why don't we just get it over with? Why don't we just save ourselves the trouble? But again, we live in a politically correct bullshit society that the whole point of it is to get nothing done. It's exactly why President Barack Obama has extended a portion of his Obamacare legislation post the midterm elections. It doesn't want to muddy the water and increase the chances of a majority Republican victory. Another report here from Breitbart.com, Egyptian military oust Morsi, again corroborating the fact that the Constitution has been suspended. Let me show you this here. Maybe some of you have even seen this. He says that the Constitution has been suspended, that early elections would take place, and that there would be a, quote, code of ethics for the media. He stated that the chief of the Constitutional Court will be taking charge during a transitional period before another election. He said the new government would be diverse and include all the people, and that the Constitution would be revised to reverse changes made by ousted Muslim Brotherhood President Mohammed Morsi. So we've pretty much seen this happen over and over again with this administration. So nothing's changed. We've yet to really determine who's taking back control, either remnants of the Mubarak regime or a truly independently led revolt, which I would say is probably not likely. What is more likely is that remnants of the old regime have now taken over again, once again by force, having cajoled the Egyptian people to take their anger out to the streets. Now, could I be wrong about that? Yes, that is yet to really be determined, but those are my instincts. Those are my very hard-hitting instincts around this very real 1776 style revolt. More information here from Politico, just corroborating once again that Morsi was forced out of office. Some people believe that he is now in hiding. I want to show you some of these images. This is of today, and this is absolutely incredible. Take a look at the people in the street. That is absolutely incredible. Last updated at 3:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Shows an aerial view, shows protesters against Egyptian President Morsi in Tahrir Square today, July 3rd. Look at that protest. Look at that celebration. This should give you just a sneak peek and a look at what could potentially unfold here in the United States of America. Again, if we just had a fraction of the American people that cared enough to take action, this would all be possible here. We could truly have another independently led revolution by the people, for the people, much like we declared independence in 1776. This is what is possible here. And you know what? Maybe Egypt, now having overthrown Morsi, might even be more free than the United States. Maybe that's pushing things a little bit over the edge for you, but might be the case, considering the totalitarian society and this concentration of government that we have at the upper echelons of power and control in Washington and on Wall Street and in the big corporate interests that control really both. Makes you think, makes you almost come to an understanding. Is it possible here? Is it truly possible? Can the American people, will they ever wake up? Will we ever get a small fighting minority, and I believe we have that coalescing now, willing to take charge and lead a movement for true independence and true freedom in the USA, to oust people that are autocratic rulers, to oust dictators, to oust people that use executive order, not to name names on a regular basis, because they feel that it's their will, even though it's not the will of the American people. It makes you question and think about what is possible. So incredible images. It's incredible to be living through this literally in real time. And, happy 4th of July, and I'll make sure to wish everybody happy 4th tomorrow. I'd be curious to know, what are you guys doing tomorrow? How do you remember, this nation's independence? Is it a happy day for you at this point in 2013? A few hundred years into this American dream, this American scam, really. At least the past several decades, many of you probably argue it's been a scam from the beginning. A lot of you cynics out there will tell me that, hey, it was just a bunch of founding father, wealthy landowners, with their own self-interest at heart. Look at what we did to the Native Americans and, how we've just destroyed so many beautiful things here on a very raw, natural, fundamental level. And look what we have now, a world of technological innovation and a complete and literal disconnection from what is real. From honestly walking outside or going on a hike or, playing with your dog or, viewing a beautiful sunset with somebody that you care about. We now live in a social media world that has helped propel revolutions, many of which have been CIA driven and have been driven by these entities here in the United States locally, and then sold off and pitched as organic movements when, of course, there was nothing organic about Arab Spring and the Arab Spring movement at all. It also makes you think and wonder about enemies of the United States, you would think, are probably trying to help orchestrate and influence public opinion and create a revolutionary atmosphere here in the USA. Might or may not be justified, who knows? But of course you've got this counterintelligence and this counterinformation war occurring much like what we've seen Snowden emblazoned with. All these questions about Snowden, who now is openly fearing for his life, having broken things to society that have truly changed our fundamental view of the world. Maybe not your fundamental view of the world, but those Americans and those people that aren't in tune with how the world is being reshaped by technology and by mass surveillance. I've called this the surveillance state, put a documentary out on it. It's woken people up. You look at people like Bradley Manning, who helped to corroborate the WikiLeaks leaks, and this guy's been in solitary confinement for a god-awful long time. And I can't even imagine the emotional and psychological trauma that he must be going through. And the American people, what are we doing about it? Honestly, what are you doing about it? We approach July 4th. Shouldn't we be fighting for these people? Shouldn't we help to protect the Bradley Mannings and the Edward Snowdens and the Michael Hastings of the world from an authoritative, tyrannical government? Shouldn't that be what America is truly and inherently all about? Shouldn't that be our value system? So what are you doing? What are we doing tomorrow, July 4th, to help these people, these specific individuals that have quite literally transformed, reshaped, and changed the world? People say all the time, one person can't have an impact, Christopher. I call bullshit on that. I just named a few individuals that literally have done just that have changed everything. And in my view, the Andrew Breitbarts of the world, the Snowdens, the Bradley Mannings, the Julian Assanges of the world really have been pioneers in the field of freedom and liberty. And my hope is that the millions of people around the world and across this great country will pick up that fallen torch and pick up that fallen flag, much like many of our forefathers did in battle, so that we could have the very little freedom that we still have here in the United States. I talk about this all the time. I don't know how much longer I have personally to deliver the truth to you. I don't know how much longer other people within the liberty movement have to continue to bring what's real and what's honest, even if it's an opinion you don't always agree with. How much longer does this last in a society where politicians, people like Harry Reid, say that bloggers shouldn't have the same constitutional rights as traditional journalists, even though there's really no such thing as traditional journalism anymore, because nobody watches it. AMTV has put CNN out of business, along with the countless others and countless other alternative media organizations around the world. For the first time this year, more people are tuning into news, like the news that you're watching, and tuning into opinions like mine, just one person among many, than they're tuning in to regular TV. That isn't something that's going to happen anymore. It has already happened. It has transformed and reshaped media and entertainment on all fronts. The entire media industry scared shitless over organizations like ours that are literally putting them out of business. In the entertainment industry specifically, Steven Spielberg was speaking to this the other day, said that his movie Lincoln barely made it into U.S. theaters. It was thought that it was going to be an HBO special because he literally couldn't raise the interest and the financing to put it into theaters. Steven Spielberg, the Spielberger, could barely get his movie into theaters, into the mainstream. Why? Well, you got more people watching Netflix now. You got more people watching on demand. You got many of you, and I've got my cell phone charging over here to my right. You can't see it's off camera. I've got an app on my phone now where I just watch YouTube videos on the TV. I don't even have cable. Don't need it. They're not telling me anything new. And so you see the alternative, you see the mainstream media trying to kind of like co-opt what we're doing. It's funny. It's honestly quite entertaining. I want to thank everybody for joining us today. We've got several hundred of you in the live chat. We are currently, trying our best to work out all the kinks with this technology, learning how the Google Hangout and the live stream works. So I appreciate your patience. Also really appreciate your input. If there's anything that you think I can do better or we can do better here at AMTV, let us know. Send us a tip at tips@amtvmedia.com. Let us know what we can do better, because I am constantly striving to deliver as much real truth and as much real news as is humanly possible and palatable to the most people, so that they are empowered to share the message, that they are empowered and excited about our liberty economy that we are literally building and have built. It is incredible. You take a look at our sponsors, some of which have been literally with me and with AMTV for years, have helped propel this and have created a sustainable environment of real profound change. Not the bullshit change Obama sold to you so that he could put a couple tears in your eyes and play the race card and have himself, elected in 2008. I'm talking about real change, and that is why we have to continue to stoke the fire. And I ask you, our audience, directly to continue to stoke that fire. Continue to support me. Continue to support our contributors like Topher Morrison. Continue to support our sponsors that support us and ultimately support you, our audience. I can't emphasize that enough. So thank you for everything that you're doing. And please take a moment, if not tomorrow, and hopefully you do tomorrow, but also today, I would encourage you to think about the things that have made this country so great. Not the things that are ripping it apart right now. We know what those are. But take a moment of pause, maybe even a moment of silence, or have a casual conversation with a friend or a family member, and ask them, what do they think about America today? Where do they think the direction of the country is headed? Is it a good direction? I think part of the problem is we've become so liberalized on so many different levels, so politically correct, that we've allowed the United States literally to destroy itself. Financially, socially, economically, politically, spiritually. We've allowed the disease to fester. You know, we had our borders open for so long, we've allowed other people to come into this country, and then these are the same people actually re-electing Obama. You know, we haven't done and maintained our own individual autonomy well at all. Now we've got outsiders, we've got community organizers telling us what to do. These aren't the people that love America. We don't have America anymore. That's the problem. The traditionalists, which is amazing to think, you know, I'm in my early 30s and I'm a traditionalist now in America. I'm the young guy and I'm the crazy guy that still actually upholds the Constitution and the Bill of Rights and loves the country for what it is. Disapproves of bailouts and reckless spending and criminals on Wall Street and Washington. I'm the cynic. I'm the scoundrel. I'm the lone wolf. This is what your government thinks about you. Why do you think you're being monitored? Why do you think you're being wiretapped? Why do you think some of the most influential people within the liberty movement are dead? Is it an accident? Is it just a very sad course of events where Obama gets to play the victim? He's always the victim. It's the way he pitches himself. Much like he identified himself with Trayvon, his own son, in theory. Helping to coax a race war, catalyze and instigate aggression in this country, which there's no reason for people to be aggressive towards one another outside of focusing our energy on the actual criminals. You see why they're spinning it this way? See, if you're too busy fighting each other, you can't focus your energy on the real threat, like Egypt has just done. They focus their energy on, let's get this dictator scumbag out of power. And so they organize in the streets, and they rip them by force out of power. American people, too blinded, too all-consumed by their favorite television show or what's on their, to-do list for the day, paying their taxes. Make sure to pay your taxes, by the way. Pay your taxes, America. Support those wars overseas. Support those bailouts. Yeah. Too busy fighting each other. Helping to create another Rodney King-style event, can't we all just get along, to really pay attention and realize they've fallen into the trap, like a mouse that just had its head cut off. Kings and queens still have power, control, and rule over us, and we and you and many of us around the world have been sold a lie. They say we have freedom. They say we have a free press. The people like me can do what we do. The people like Michael Hastings or Andrew Breitbart can do what they do. That you have those constitutional protections. But the minute you get too close, too much on the inside, for some reason something tends to happen. Unfortunate. You know, if you're Michael Hastings, your Mercedes-Benz C-Class explodes in a ball of flames and fury. And there's cameras on the scene and shows your engine that is literally kind of decapitated out of the hood. And even though you've made and sent emails and phone calls to your closest family members and friends saying, hey, the FBI's on to me, I got to get out of here for a while, there's still no suspicion. American people don't even know who Michael Hastings is, just like they don't know who Edward Snowden is. You just go up to people on the street, hey, Have you ever heard of Edward Snowden? No, I haven't. Who is he? I mean, they don't know whether or not he's a whistleblower, a NSA leaker, or he just dropped a fat album on the Billboard Top 100. But then you ask him, hey, well, what do you think about Kim K? What do you think about Hollywood? What do you think about the latest show you watched last night on TV? And they'll talk your ear off and tune in to E! Entertainment. Mind control. I watch my friends that have small children and, their kids have all this energy. Nothing can really, shut them up. That's how kids are. They're supposed to be that way. They're investigative. They want to move around. They've got energy. They've got all this, physical. They need to release it. And I'll watch how the only thing that actually calms them down and will actually keep them focused on something is the TV. The Disney Channel will come on and the kid will literally stop dead in his tracks and just stare at it. Wom, 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 wom. Do we even stop to think, what is the subtext here? What's being impregnated into our children's mind? All of us programmed. We think it's crazy. How did Hitler rise to power? How was the rise of Nazi Germany possible? Wow, 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 wow. Why do you think the establishment wants the alternative media dead? I mean, literally, quite literally. The media is more powerful than the federal government. The media, if you think about it, kind of is the government. Maintains control. Entertains the groundlings when needed. Helps to propel their message. But what is that message? What is the motive of what's being pitched and sold to you? Now I want you to think about that. In another report today, U.S. refuses to stop force-feeding Gitmo inmates for Ramadan. So things have gotten so bad in Gitmo, and again, all these people in Gitmo, here in the United States, we believe in, right to a fair trial. Not. Oh, yeah, you get in front of a jury of your peers, Christopher Dorner, bam, 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 light you unmatched, and, you'll die and, be lit on fire. Same thing in Gitmo. I don't care who you are, how they categorize you, what kind of terrorist you are. You still deserve a trial. At the very least, a military tribunal. Again, look at Bradley Manning, solitary confinement for doing what? Exposing the truth. The only thing illegitimate about this government, or wrong about this government and this system, is the system, and it is those people in charge guiding us at this very moment in time. Now I'm looking for this article. U.S. rejects call to stop force. So it's began force feeding these inmates. The U.S. government on Wednesday refused to stop force feeding prisoners at the U.S. detention facility at Guantanamo Bay, Cuba, during Ramadan. The court papers rejecting a petition by detainees in the United States said the feedings provide essential nutrition and medical care. I wonder if they're getting that cock meat sandwich, too. What was that movie? Oh, I wonder if they're getting an Obama cock meat sandwich. Some of you probably won't like me saying that, but the two feedings will take place in the early morning and late evening to help detainees comply with Ramadan restrictions, said Navy Captain Robert Durand, spokesman for the detention facility. A lot of interesting reports. Okay, I'm reading here, fireworks canceled. I believe they're referring to the Egypt protests. Obama's Air Force One bill, $6.5 million for Africa alone. Just going through the budget here. Also, I'll make sure to give you an update on the George Zimmerman Trayvon trial. They've been having some tech issues, actually. There's this hilarious Skype bombing brings halt to witness testimony in George Zimmerman trial. I guess they're having problems with Skype. It's never happened to us before. I'm going to take a quick break, reboot the system, get the comment stream live on air. And this time, I'm going to really, or at least I hope so, go to your comments. Because yesterday when I tried to do it, we were not getting a live stream or a feed at all. Well, I couldn't address any of your questions. Thanks, YouTube. Ding! I'll be right back. Everybody stay tuned. Hey everybody, Christopher Green, AMTV Live. I'm back. I am stoked that our comment system is actually working today. You see, we're constantly making improvements here. So if you got a question or comment for me, drop it in the thread. Tweet out to your friends and family that we've got a live show in action so they can join us if they'd like to. I'm reading here, it says Amanda says breaking, Obama's puppet, Egypt, Mohamed Morsi, in custody. Stock Jockey says, why stand on a silent platform? Fight the war, F the norm. Why stand on a silent platform? Fight the war, F the norm. Well, I guess I've got a question for you, Stock Jockey. What do you mean by that? What kind of action do you think that the American people should take? And are you willing to lead the American people? And I think those are questions that we all need to answer for ourselves. We all need to be willing to lead. All of us. Paul Jackson says, until you change the way money works, you change nothing. Well, I would agree with that. Until we abolish and end the Federal Reserve in this country, in the criminal banking cartel, then it will be tough to change a whole lot. But if there was a legitimate revolution here in the United States of America, and it actually worked, and it was a legitimate by the people, for the people type event, I think one of the first parts of the agenda would be to end the Fed, 1776 style. Maybe we put Ben Bernanke in one of those things, I forget what they were called, and old Europe where he sticks his head through and he's got his arms dangling out. You know, we throw like banana peels at his face, or, you know, I don't know, tar and feather him like we did some of our ancestors. Taco Rack, one of our sponsors. Again, these guys support us. They support the Liberty Movement. Please support them. And they got an awesome product, too. I mean, I don't have a single company, a single sponsor that I haven't personally vetted, that I don't personally know the individuals that run the company, and that I don't like to use and don't already use their stuff. Check them out at tacorack.com. I just see they're running through the comment section saying, I'm still waiting for President Barack Obama to be in custody. I couldn't, you know, agree with you more. And thanks again for your guys' support. Honestly, we couldn't do it without you. You know, we've made this move into a small studio here just really in the past few weeks. You've seen us go through this transition and this process. Couldn't do it without all of you. So, you know, people ask me all the time, Christopher, how do I support you? You know, what do I need to do? Visit our sponsor below. I'll attach it to this video. TacoRack.com. Let them know Christopher Green sent you. It'd really mean a lot to me, and they've got an awesome product. Box says, Chris sent you a link today that the man of the cloth said beheaded. He wasn't. He was shot 8 times. You know, I don't know if I saw that link, and I ran through several hundred emails today just trying to play catch up. I did get a video. I don't know if you guys saw this. It's got a few million views, actually. Maybe I'll even comment on it, or I guess I'm commenting on it now, where it shows police officers shoot a dog that really wasn't even attacking them. I don't know if some of you saw this. It looked, I'm not 100% sure, like maybe it was in Los Angeles, but I'm not sure, so correct me if I'm wrong. But this guy was carrying his dog on a leash. Cops were around. He put the dog in the car. It looked like a Doberman or something. Wasn't doing anything harmful. Jumped out of the car when his master was being arrested, and the cops just opened fire on the dog. And it, you know, horrible to see. I'm an animal lover personally. I value animal lives, and you know, it's kind of tough to watch those things. But you know, I don't see Obama coming on camera, you know, driving a big, you know, dog war over it or anything, saying, you know, that dog looked like it, you know, would be a member of my own family. You know, so I don't see that happening. You know, I don't see other dogs on camera right now barking their ears off like, oh, there's a racist attack, Rodney King style, rough. I don't see that, do you? So again, all this is totally politically charged. Okay, our comments are like freaking rocking faster than I can read them. Let me go to some of them here as I disable the automatic stream. Yeah, I saw that sign and I talked about it. This is from History Truths. He says the Egyptians held a sign that says, "Obama, your bitch was our dictator." I think we need to make T-shirts on that, or maybe like rephrase that somehow, like Obama the bitch dictator. I'm sure you guys would probably come up with a better idea than me. But yeah, I thought that was pretty funny as well. From B. Corvelli says, population explosion. How about our borders being wide open? My city is filled with foreigners, no jobs. Now, I think we kind of have to think about that a little bit because, you know, the country, and I agree, you know, to a certain extent. Just like I mentioned earlier, part of the problem is we opened up our borders to everybody. Now we got a lot of people that aren't inherently Americans, and they're the ones actually propelling and voting for President Barack Obama, helping to create the landslide victories, you know, for his reelection second term. You know, so, you know, that's been a complete tragedy. But we also have to keep in mind it's foreigners and you know, all of our ancestors. It's that melting pot that has also made America great. And that's something that we don't want to lose. We just want people to come here legally. That's all. I was reading an article on Sheriff Joe. You know, we've met him a few times in person. And, I've had the privilege of interviewing him on a few occasions. Don't necessarily agree, everything, about Sheriff Joe, but I do kind of think it's cool that he's old school. I mean, Sheriff Joe Arpaio, and I think he exaggerates a lot, but I mean, he's legitimately been in gunfights. I mean, guy's pretty badass. He sits in the back of a Lincoln Town car with 2 or 3 of his thugs armed on a daily basis, and the guy's 82, I think is his age. He's early 80s. He looks like he's 70. He's an Italian guy. He gets a lot of Italian racist remarks thrown his way. And, the inmates here in Arizona don't like wearing the pink jumpsuits. You probably remember DMX. I can't do his bark or whatever, but, wearing the pink jumpsuit. But at least he's old school, and he gets things done. Maybe you don't agree with everything, but again, if this country was a little bit more gangster, quite frankly, we'd probably be better for it. At least we'd have a set of rules. You could come to the Godfather if you needed something. And come over here, little one. Come over here. Tell me what you need. Just don't F with me. Hope the live stream here is still working. Looks like we had maybe a slight error on the other end, so I'm reloading, and it looks like that is working. Boxa says, Chris, have a friend who has extended an invite to be on his libertarian radio show. Well, cool, awesome, yeah, send me the link or resend it to me. I try to funnel through as many of those as possible, and get to everybody. Track says, be sure to write to your reps and demand change, and we will march on a deadline. Darth Brink says, Obama the dictator, dick in capital letters. Got another question, says, hey, Chris, do you think that anti-racist is just a code word for anti-white? Let me think about that. Anti-racist is just a code word for anti-white. I don't know, to be honest. Morsi is not president anymore. Let me update the comments here automatically. Yeah, and I'm seeing that too, Survivalizer. I don't know why, but, there's a little bit of lag on the stream. I'm seeing it on my end, but it looks like on the user end, maybe we're having a few issues. I'm not 100% sure, so actually, it looks like we're back. Looks like we're back, America. We're back to the live show. Paul Jackson says, hey, Chris, you seem to have very white teeth. Do you use normal toothpaste? Actually, no, I use whitening toothpaste. I think it's Colgate. Kind of stings my mouth a little bit. And then I've been encouraged by friends who are like, hey, you should try to whiten those a little bit. They're looking yellow. You drink too much coffee. So glad to know that they look pretty good on camera. Again, we're live here, AMTV, July 3rd, 2013. I'm Christopher Green. If you got a question or comment, drop it in the live updated feed boxaroo, and I'll get to them. Let's see here. Let me scroll down. I'm sure there's a ton of others I miss. Shams 2112 says, I wish Abonga would just stay in South Africa. Susie T says, Chris, what would be your opinion on the topic of alien disclosure? Well, I think you're probably inferring, do I think aliens exist, or is it possible? Yeah, anything's possible. I mean, if I'm sitting here talking to you on camera, I mean, do we get crazy videos? People say I'm an alien. They'll do entire videos and say I'm a freaking alien or like a vampire or something. And they'll literally slow the video down and play it frame by frame and be like, hey, see his eye? See his retina rotate? And look at his cap tooth. Look at it stick out. He must be a vampire or a demon. I mean, all kinds of crazy shit, which is kind of funny. I guess at least they're talking about me. Maybe that's a good thing. Maybe it's not. Ping Pong says, much bigger, ugly coming. Leaving will be the least of everybody's worries. Stormy Sky says this place has turned into an abomination to God. Another question, do I think Morsi is all bad? Well, I mean, a leader propped up by Obama? Yeah, probably bad. I'm going to go with bad on that one. Mad on that one. I don't know if I did a sheep that well there, although I tried. So, yeah, I would say Morsi is bad. I mean, look, what does the U.S. support? Terror? Drone strikes? Bailouts? Anti-constitutional measures? Okay, good. Says that you guys are confirming that the live stream is back. Yeah, big party in Egypt tonight. You got to think the bubbly's flowing, that's for sure. Moses says, how long till the rapture? I need to clean. Yeah, the press reported that there's a new guy in place of Morsi. Let me look at here some of the updated trending feeds via news. Again, we know tanks have been on the move. There's been a military coup. People yelling in the streets, your bitch is our dictator. A massive wave of anti-Obama sentiment. I think it's awesome. I mean, Egypt hates Obama. Probably their hate for Obama is what's propelled the whole revolution, quite frankly. You know, they just kind of got together late night. Like, we hate this guy so much, we don't even care who's in power. We're just going to oust this Morsi guy because Obama propped him up, is probably what they said. The Muslim Brotherhood TV channel has gone off the air. There's a report that Morsi is under house arrest. This is coming from Al Hayat TV. Al Hayat TV. Egypt's President Mohamed Morsi is under house arrest. This has been denied, however, by Morsi's spokesman. Of course, Egypt's military imposed a deadline for him to resolve the situation after days of massive protests broke out around the country, etc., etc. And I'm looking at comments in this article. It says, hey, it'd be cool to see our military take care of our local Islamic extremist, Abami. Hey, Abami. Hi. Rockfast says, nuke Israel for world peace. It's an aggressive stance there. Ratio Perfect says, do you think when we vote at an election that our vote should be disclosed? I just think voting is, quite frankly, the whole process is retarded at this point. I mean, are you telling me in this day and age we can't just vote on our iPad? We got to go into these malfunctioning booths in this archaic, you got to go down to like your local school and, waste your time in a long DMV line so that they can rig these, machines. Much like what we've seen repeatedly election after election. The fact that you just can't, and obviously it'd probably be rigged technologically as well, but how behind the curve is this government? I mean, what a joke. Yeah, Susie T, I agree with you. We can learn a valuable lesson here from the Egyptians. These Egyptians have balls. They actually get shit done. Not like America. They're like, hey, we want our freedom. Let's go take it. That's how the world works, and they just did. Pretty darn cool. Okay, this is interesting. James says, so now that the Muslim Brotherhood has been tossed out in Egypt, what will the Muslim Brotherhood do in the White House? Retaliation? Well, I actually think, honestly, Obama's moving away from all this right now because it's really bad PR. So I think he's going to kind of let this one go by the wayside. I mean, militarily and politically, their objective has already been accomplished, quite frankly. I don't even think they needed Morsi to be in power for much longer than he's already been. So, I mean, again, this has all been about the destabilization effort in the Middle East using replacing figureheads in Egypt. This has helped to propel an arming of Syrian insurgents and a potential invasion in Syria that will ultimately lead as a gateway into Iran, which is, Iran, obviously the second largest oil exporting country in the world. Massive reserves, massive capital, and that's how the federal government resets itself. That's how they get out of that shenanigans and the bailouts. They reset it through war. The question is, how violent will the war be? Will it be a nuclear holocaust? Nobody knows. Or will it just be a Cold War environment where nothing ever happens? We get occasionally hacked or something like that by a foreign government, by our enemies abroad. DJS Pintel says, doomsday plane shadow government in Austin for abortion debate or to scare Alex Jones. I actually haven't heard that story, so actually that's news to me. But I see a couple of you in the comment screen saying that a plane has gone over Austin. Let me see if I can look that up actually and update you on that. Plane, Austin. Could just be self-promotion for yours truly over at InfoWars. Paul Joseph Watson says, mysterious low-flying plane buzzes Austin. Mysterious aircraft flew dangerously low over Austin today. Here, I'll show it to you. This is the first I'm seeing it. Evoking memories of how New Yorkers were terrified by a similar incident 3 years ago. Let me turn the sound off and we can just see it in motion. Okay, looks like a plane flying. So Alex Jones reported seeing the plane flying at the level of the city's highest skyscrapers, coming dangerously close to hitting them. The aircraft made several passes before leaving for another area of the city. The footage above shows the plane filmed at a different location flying at a higher altitude. Jones compared the incident to when the government flew a Boeing 747 over New York City in 2009 as part of a photo op evoking memories of 9/11 and sending thousands of people into a total panic. Well, who knows? Maybe it was another U.S. government-led, whether or not you believe that or not, I don't know. Potential terrorist, false flag stage terror attack gone awry. Picked up on it, decided to fly away, baby bird. Fly away. Anyways, that about does it for today's show. AMTV Live, July 3rd, 2013. I'm Christopher Green. It's great having you all here, answering your questions. Let me know if I can do anything better. You want to see something different on the live broadcast, want to make it as great as we possibly can. Send us a tip at tips@amtvmedia.com. And, keep it real, my friends. Hard-hitting and in your face. I'll get this re-archived up shortly. Stay tuned for some awesome updates. AMTV News coming up next, as well as more videos from yours truly. Get it out there. Peace.